For dinner tonight, we are having grilled cheeseburger wraps. These are actually really easy to make, and it's a different play on cheeseburgers. You can do this on the grill, or you can do this on your inside grill, which is the way we're gonna do it. Now, I plan to start this by getting everything that we need prepped for this recipe. I'm gonna cut up some pickles. I actually made some pickles out of our slicing cucumbers, and the first batch was so good. The next batch, unfortunately, I think it got too hot. I read online that once the cucumbers get too hot, they turn bitter. So even as they're growing, even if you're picking them at the right time, if it's too hot outside, unfortunately this batch, it doesn't taste good at all. If I had the larger ones, that would probably be better, but I'm just going to attempt to cut them into slices. And my daughter doesn't care for pickles usually on her burger, so I doubt she'll have it, but my husband and my son and I definitely will. I also just went out to the garden and picked a couple of tomatoes, so I'm gonna slice those so we can have them as well. These are going on wraps. I actually am choosing to use the smaller tomatoes that I pulled out of the garden. I have a much larger one that we could use, but I'm going with the smaller one. We are gonna be using these organic flour tortillas. We really like these a lot. Like, we buy multiple packs at a time when we use them. And also, you could add other things that you like on burgers. So feel free to cut up some onion if you like that. Maybe some mushrooms would be really good. Whatever you guys enjoy on your burger, go ahead and get that ready before you start anything else. Let's move over to the stove and cook up our ground beef. I have a pound of lean ground beef. So this is 92.8. So I am gonna add a little bit of oil to our pan. You don't need much. We're gonna let this pan get hot and then cook up this ground beef. I like to add some other things to the ground beef to add more flavor. Okay, as this is cooking, I am going to add in some Worcestershire, maybe a little over a teaspoon. I also like to add in some garlic powder. About a half teaspoon. Same thing with some onion powder. About a half teaspoon, maybe a little more. And then we like to use our Kevin's all-purpose seasoning, just making sure that we get great flavor. Feel free to just use salt and pepper though. While the ground beef is cooking, let's go ahead and start getting these all ready to go. I have also plugged in my indoor grill so that can be heating. I'm going to take mayonnaise and just do a line of mayonnaise on each one. Oh, and get it all over the plate. And let's add some mustard as well. You could add whatever kind of mustard you like. For the kids, I'm gonna do the yellow mustard. For me and my husband, I'm gonna do a stone ground mustard. Okay, I'm going to just take a knife and kind of spread that around just a bit. We're gonna be using provolone cheese, but feel free to use cheddar or like a pepper jack would be really delicious. Use whatever kind you want to use. I'm gonna cut these in half just so they fit a little nicer inside of these. Okay, now I'm going to add tomato into each one. I think we're all fine with tomato. Now, if you're wanting to add lettuce, what I would do is grill these and then open them back up after you've grilled and add lettuce then. Pickles onto 3 of them. Now, we're just going to scoop some of the mixture onto each one. You could obviously add ketchup to these too. Actually, I'll check with my kids and see if they want ketchup. I do not. You guys probably know that. And more than likely, I'm overfilling these because that is what I do. Now we are going to attempt to fold so that we can grill these. Oh, that actually worked out quite well. I'm only gonna grill 2 of these at a time because I really think that's probably all that this thing can handle.
And then, Olivia said she was definitely...
All right, these look really good, really easy to make. We are serving these with some quick air fryer potatoes. I've made these a ton of times. Even here on my channel, I've made them, pop them in the air fryer and they're good to go. Serving with a little bit of ranch dressing on the side. Everything you want right in here. It's great. It's just a completely different play on a burger, and you can put whatever you want on the inside. Tortilla instead of a bun. This is a winner. I'm really excited about tonight's dinner. It seems like one that is just gonna be one of those comfort foods that you just really love. It's raining outside and it's a little dreary, so I think this is gonna be perfect. We are making cottage pie baked potatoes. I have prepped a foil-lined baking sheet. I ordered baked potatoes in our grocery order. Ideally, I think it would be better if these were a little larger, but we're gonna work with it. So I'm gonna try and pull out the largest. Oh, they're all about the same size. They're little. Let's give these a good wash and then bring them over. So I do think that baking potatoes would be better for this. These are yellow potatoes, and I don't know if they just subbed out based on the fact that they didn't have baking potatoes. I'm not sure what happened here. But we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna make these. I'm drying them off just a little bit. We are going to coat with oil. I have preheated my oven to 400 degrees, and these are probably gonna take about 40 minutes or so, so I'm getting started a little early. We've got some avocado oil. Feel free to use whatever kind of oil you prefer. Just coat those a bit. And then I'm using this coarse kosher salt. You do not have to. I'm using it because it is the only salt that I have in a shaker container. Go ahead and just add some salt, and then we're going to rub it all in. When you add the oil to the outside of the potato, it kind of adds to the crispiness of the skin, which I really love. And bonus, when you wash your hands, you get the spot experience because you're gonna exfoliate with the salt, and then the oil is gonna moisturize. All right, let's add a little more of the salt. And these are gonna go in the oven and we'll set the timer. All right, while the potatoes are in there, I'm gonna get started cutting up the vegetables that we need. So I'm starting with a large carrot. We're gonna dice this into pretty small pieces. So I cut it into quarters first, and then we'll just dice it up. And even after doing that, I'm still gonna go through and just dice a little bit more. Now, to this recipe, you could add onion, you could add mushroom, you can add whatever kind of thing you enjoy, okay? So we are just doing a bit of carrot, a bit of green pepper, and a bit of red pepper. And same thing, I just want it about the same size, just diced up. All right, we've got our vegetables diced. I'm gonna head on over to the stove because we are going to get these sauteed. We've gotta cook up our ground beef, make a little sauce that's gonna go in it, and get everything prepped so that when those potatoes come out, we're ready to move on. Add some oil to my pan and just get that nice and hot. Okay, we've got a little bit of heat here, so I'm gonna start adding in all of our vegetables for sauteing. And while these saute, just to make sure they get good flavor, I'm adding our favorite Kevin's seasoning, just an all-purpose seasoning. Feel free to use salt and pepper if you don't have this. All right, friends, let's add in a pound of ground beef to this and get that cooking. Just gonna use my mix and chop and break this up. I do wanna make sure that my ground beef is seasoned. So again, I'm just adding that Kevin's seasoning, but feel free to use salt and pepper. It does not have to be this. I need to add in some Worcestershire, about 1.5 teaspoons. And I'm adding in a touch of red wine vinegar. If you wanna just use red wine, that's fine as well. That's about 1 teaspoon as well. Let's just mix that together. Oh my goodness, it smells amazing right now. I'm just gonna eat this. Let's just have just this right here because goodness. Now I'm using a flour shaker. You do not have to have a flour shaker. Just add a little bit of flour to this. It's just gonna help thicken the sauce up once we add it. maybe a little over a tablespoon. It doesn't have to be too much. Also, I have 2 of these and one has powdered sugar, and I almost used the powdered sugar one, which I feel like would have been just detrimental to this recipe. Have you guys ever done that? Comment below if you have ever accidentally subbed an ingredient into a recipe and it was one of those where it just completely ruined the entire recipe. I have just over a cup of beef bone broth. We're gonna add this. I don't even know if I'm gonna use quite a cup yet. Let's mix this together and see what it looks like. I might even use less. We do want it to be a little saucy, but not too saucy. I think we're actually gonna be fine to add the full cup because we're gonna let it cook down and it'll thicken up a bit because of that flour. Also, I really should have added these before, but I am gonna add a dash of thyme and a dash of rosemary. And basically we're just gonna let this sit here. It's on a medium low. We're gonna let it sit and the sauce is gonna thicken up a bit while the potatoes continue to cook. And then once those are done, we will be ready to move on with the recipe. Just realized I forgot an ingredient. It's tomato paste. And I'm sitting here trying to think if I add it in now, is it gonna completely screw it up? But I feel like we have to go for it. We have to try it. We'll give it a go, see what happens. All right, the beauty of this is you guys get to see the good, the bad, the mess ups, all the things. So I'm adding in about a tablespoon of tomato paste. And let's just see if we can make this work right. Ooh, I might even add a little bit more. I'm liking the way this looks and smells. Let's add a little more. I wanna taste this filling. This is gonna be good. All right, the potatoes are out, so here's where we are going to attempt, they're very hot, we're going to attempt this process. Cut a circle out of the top, sort of. Attempt to cut a circle out of the top. And it's so hot. I'm gonna drop this in my KitchenAid mixer. Feel free to just put this in any bowl. It doesn't have to be a mixer like that thing. Just do this on each one. I need cooking gloves, but not like pot holders. You know, there has to be that. They have to be in existence, right? I do think for sure this would be better with big baking potatoes. I'm gonna take a spoon and dig out a little bit more from each one. It doesn't need to be all of it, just leaving a kind of a rim of potato around the edge. Okay, here's my suggestion. Bake these earlier in the day and then just let them cool. Just let them be and then come in and scoop out the innards. All right, well, I totally busted this one. So we're just gonna use this one to go in the potato mixture. To make the mashed potatoes, I'm gonna add in some butter. About a tablespoon should be a good amount for what I have in here. When you look in there, you might have to kind of judge just based on the amount of potatoes that you made. Let's add in some milk. It's only gonna take about a 1/4 cup, and we'll add a touch of salt and some pepper. Now I'm gonna let the KitchenAid mixer do the work for me on this, but like I said, a bowl and a potato masher is totally fine. Take the meat mixture and spoon into each one of these. Ooh, the rain is coming down now. It's been sprinkling all day, but now it's really coming down. Okay, now we take the mashed potatoes, the mixture here, and we're gonna spoon a little bit onto the top of each one, just like so. So you just want a heaping spoon on the top here. Heaping spoonful, not spoon. Take a little bit of cheddar cheese. This is a white cheddar, and we're gonna top each one with some cheese. My oven is still on 425 degrees right now. Did I say that before? I don't remember if I said 400 or 425, but it's currently at 425. Now, this can go back into the oven, and basically we're just kind of heating everything back through, and we're going to let that cheese melt on the top. So it really shouldn't take longer than about 12 minutes or so. Okay, good, this isn't hot anymore. About 12 minutes, I'm gonna set a timer for time just to watch. Let me show you what we can do with the leftover. Or if you're not a fan of that whole process, you can just do this, okay? So take the leftover meat and put it at the bottom of a casserole dish. We can have this for lunch. So just spread out at the bottom of a casserole dish. Then take your leftover mashed potatoes. These are thick mashed potatoes. This is gonna go all over the top of the meat mixture. Y'all, this is so easy. It's so easy to make this. I mean, obviously the potatoes are kind of a play on this, so it's a little bit more fun just to do it differently, but you could do it either way and it's gonna be totally fine. I'm not gonna bake this right now. I'll probably bake it tomorrow right before we eat it, but same thing, everything is cooked, so you're really just heating through, and just top with a little bit of cheese, throw that in the oven for, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, and you're good to go. This is gonna be so good. I'm excited to serve these up. Let's cut into this and see how it is. This might be the best dinner we've had all week. And we've had some good ones this week. The beef mixture is delicious. I mean, wow. The potato is cooked to perfection with a little bit of crispiness on the outside from that oil that we put on there. The mashed potatoes and cheese on the top, y'all, this is a best of. This recipe is really, really easy, comes together quickly. It's only 5 ingredients. It's all in a casserole dish. It's got great flavor and it is gonna be filling. It is so perfect. I'm telling you guys, this is one of those that you can have on repeat because you're gonna love it. We are starting with some potatoes that I've just diced up. These are red potatoes. I washed and diced. I didn't peel them though, just because we prefer to keep the skin on. We're just gonna blanch these. So we're really just cooking them for a couple of minutes. You can feel free to skip this step altogether if you want and just use frozen potatoes. You do not have to make your own, but we already had these, so it was just easy to go ahead and dice these up and get them blanched and do it that way. After these are cooked, we are going to drain them off and I'm gonna let them cool for just a little bit before I end up working with them. We also need to brown up some ground beef. I'm using a lean ground beef for this recipe just because of some of the other ingredients that are going to be in here, but you could also use a less lean ground beef and then just pour off the excess grease and fat. We're just gonna brown that up and then set that to the side. All right, so we have our 1 pound of ground beef here, cooked that, and I just let it drain off on a paper towel, even though it already was really lean. I actually set this in the refrigerator for a few minutes because I cooked this a little bit earlier today. I'm gonna add a cream of base. Feel free to use cream of mushroom or whatever it is that you like. If you guys have been here for a while, then you know we typically just make our own cream of base because it's really easy to make, and then I know exactly what ingredients are in it. But if you really wanna stick to this 5 ingredient thing, then you're gonna use a can of like cream of mushroom or something. So let's add in the whole thing. If you make your own like I do, 1 recipe will equal what a can of cream of would be. I'm gonna go ahead and start to incorporate it with this beef, just mixing it together. Now I'm gonna take our potatoes that we drained off, we cooked and drained off. We're gonna add these into the bowl and we're gonna feed some to the floor and to the counter because that's what we do. And like I said, I just blanched these. I did not cook them all the way because I wanna make sure that they hold their shape. That's just my preference here. So this is very similar to a shepherd's pie. You do not have to, you can make it more like a shepherd's pie, but this is just changing it up a little bit, making it a little bit different. All right, so I thought I actually had a whole bag of cheddar cheese, but I don't. I only have like a quarter of a bag. So I'm gonna shred up some mozzarella, but basically you just need cheese. So I'm gonna add in some cheese into this. We really need about a 1/2 cup to go in here and then about a 1/2 cup to top the casserole with. So even though I didn't think I was gonna be using my cheese shredder today, it wouldn't be a normal day in the Byrd house without using it. So here we go. Now I do think that a cheddar is the most ideal cheese to use here, but we're working with what we have considering that it is 4:30 and I'm not going back to the grocery store. All right, so we're gonna add a little bit more in here. Also, I keep getting interrupted today. We have a couple of trees that are coming out of our yard. So there's a lot of noise, All right, so we currently have 4 ingredients here. And the 5th ingredient for me is actually gonna be some parsley that I'm just gonna add color. You could also add like green pepper, green beans, peas, whatever you like to add to this kind of thing. But I am gonna add parsley. We just don't prefer things like peas or green beans in a recipe. We prefer to have them on the side. All right, let's give this 9x13 a good spray. We're gonna pour all of this in. Crazy simple, like such a simple casserole. Okay, let's top this with a bit more cheese. Now I'm gonna cover this with foil because I wanna make sure that we don't burn the cheese on the top while everything is coming up to temperature in the casserole. We are preheating our oven to 350 degrees. This is going to bake for about 35 minutes with the foil on, and then maybe 15 to 20 more minutes with the foil off. This recipe is so perfect for any weeknight, so simple to make, and it's really filling with great flavor. We all really, really loved this one. Our verse today comes from John 16:33. I've told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you need more ground beef inspiration, I've got more videos just like this here on my channel where you can get more recipes that involve ground beef. I've also got tons of other videos that are gonna give you so much more encouragement and inspiration in the kitchen. I highly suggest you check out the video above. Have a great week.